You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are latest things that makes it official. Welcome to the Chris Voss Show. For over 2,300 episodes and 16 years, we bring you the Chris Voss Show. The billionaires, the CEOs, the White House presidential advisors, Pulitzer Prize winners, the great journalists, people who go through all their journeys in life, share with you their stories, their learnings, their overcoming of cathartic moments, and make sure that you realize that, hey, I'm not alone. I was at the gym the other day, and someone came up to me and going, oh my God, it's Chris Voss, it's the Chris Voss Show, and all that stuff that they do. And they go, hey, we really love your podcast. And I was like, well, that's great. Awesome. I really appreciate that. And they go, you know what I like about your podcast? And I go, what? And they go, it makes me feel really stupid. And I was like, what? And they go, no, it's not just that. It just makes me understand that there's a lot I don't know. And it helps me understand that the more I need to know, the better off I am. So now I listen to the Chris Voss Show, so I'm not stupid anymore. So I really appreciate that. It was kind of a funny conversation. I was like, what? But we're not here to make you stupid, folks. We're definitely here to improve your life and improve your brains. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss won the TikTokity. Although I have been accused of making people stupid, so that's usually by our enemies. Anyway, we have an amazing young man on the show today. We're going to be talking to him about his journey, his life, and what he does and how he does it. We have comedian Clay McMath on the show. He is a rising star in the world of comedy, known for his quick wit, sharp observations, and irreverent sense of humor. He was born and raised in Adelaide, South Australia, and he developed a love for making people laugh at an early age, entertaining his friends and family with his antics and impressions. After retiring from a baseball career, he began honing his craft at Adelaide's famous Rhino Room. He quickly gained reputation as a fearless performer willing to take risks and push boundaries in his pursuit of the perfect joke. With his unique blend of observational humor, self-depreciating wit, and storytelling, he's won over audiences in comedy clubs and festivals around Australia. He's performed along such acts as Stephen K. Amos, Daniel McConnell, Mickey D, and then Chris the Bloke, Franklin, there's a lot of commas here, etc. So welcome to the show, Clay. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
There you go. My old eyes aren't picking up commas, evidently. That's part of being 57.
Oh, that'll do it.
That'll do it. So give us your .coms.
I don't think you're the only person that's been accused of making people dumber either, by the way. I think that's something we might have in common.
Some politicians, too, that have fit that role.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, there you go. It might be some billionaires that are running around that own platforms. Anyway, give us your .coms, Clay. Right now.
My .coms are claymcmathcomedy.com, so CLAYMCMATH comedy.com, with all my merch, tour dates and all of that is on there. And then at Clay McMath Comedy on Instagram, Clay McMath Comedy on Facebook, Clay McMath Comedy on Twitter or X.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so you have a podcast too. Do we have all that encompassed in the links?
Oh yeah. Well, welcome to the party on Instagram. Welcome to the party on X, Twitter. Welcome to the party on Facebook, and welcome to the party on everything that you listen to podcasts on: YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the rest. So it's a film review podcast where I pair every movie I watch with a snack and a personal story, oftentimes embarrassing myself in the process.
So, I mean, what is the snack that I have to know what this is? Is there like crackers, like Tim Tams, or is there a different snack for each movie? And how do you pair them? It'll be based on what my idea of the movie is before I watch it. So if I watched John Wick or something like that, a snack like a chocolate bullet
Like licorice covered with chocolate bullets. There's a lot of bullets flying around John Wick, so I'll just smash it up like that. So yeah, it can be pretty abstract, but I'll try and draw a line somewhere between.
Now, is there a limit to how much you consume? Because I could see this becoming a diabetic insulin seizure
that's
situation if you eat too much.
You
got a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably hire a medical staff at some point to join me on the podcast, do my bloods and all of that, because it's a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I've had those insulin overloads when I drink, a 50-pound Coke, and we're in America here, and
you got
5-gallon drum of popcorn. And then I'm like, why do I want to puke? And then usually it's a bag of red vines too. I'm like, why do I want to puke? It's like you've stirred up a stew of garbage and shit in your belly, and you're trying to watch The Godfather, and now you just want to puke every time you see, I don't know, Marlon Brando on screen.
Every time I watch a movie, I'll turn into Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, I do that when I'm gonna have to get that joke reference pulled up first. So give us a 30,000 overview of what you do there, how you do it, what your comedy's like, et cetera, et cetera.
My comedy is mostly storytelling. So the people I looked up to when I was growing up were like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, Louis C.K., that type of stuff. But the comics I watched the most of are the opposite. So the one-liner type of guys, Mitch Hedberg, Anthony Jeselnik, Mark Normand. I love the way they write their jokes. I think they're amazing joke writers. Steve Wright. I don't write like that, so I try to consume as much of what they do as possible to be able to learn from them and mix up my style a bit. But yeah, I'm mostly a storyteller, observational comic, and lots of personal stories with a little bit of mustard on top. Not everything that happens is the funniest thing that's ever happened, but you just don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
There you go. Yeah, you ever get into George Carlin?
Yeah, I liked early Carlin. I think he got a bit angry towards the end.
He did. He did become an angry old man. I think that's actually one of his bits about how he's become an angry old man. And I think the last special he did, he was pretty chomping at the bitter. I was like, I think we moved from comedy just to get off my lawn, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm 57, so I'm feeling that. So I get it now. So what do you love about comedy? What is it that drew you to it? You said kind of an early age, you kind of had an influence on it, liking to entertain, I think, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us about that.
Just the earliest memory of comedy I have is actually watching Bill Burr's, it was a 30-minute Comedy Central special. And my dad and I were just sitting on the couch, just laughing so hard. And I was just like, that would just be amazing to be able to do that to people. And once I got older and got into comedy and realized how hard it is to make people laugh like that, and how vulnerable a position it actually is to laugh, especially at like a dirty joke or something race-based, putting someone in a vulnerable position like that, and having them feel comfortable enough, they trust you enough to laugh at what you're saying is it's definitely a work of art. And I just love it.
Yeah, there's a wordsmithing to it and a crafting. There was a way that Johnny Carson used to teach a lot of comedians to write jokes and where to put the punchline and how to land it out. And we mentioned in your bio, I think I read off, you said you're always in search of the perfect joke. And I think that's what a lot of comedians are always searching for, that perfect joke or that perfectly written joke so that when it delivers, it kills, right?
Yeah. It's hard to know when a joke's finished. You always sort of feel like it's got room to improve. So, you've got a joke that kills, but maybe there's one beat in there that you're just like, I could add something in there and get even more. So you're just sort of always working, even on your oldest jokes, and it's just it's like a never-ending craft, which I love about it.
There you go. And I love how wordsmithing and storytelling is used in comedy, especially when you want to build to like a great sort of punchline. And comedy is such a great reflection, I think, on human nature, because it really puts a mirror up to us in a way that kind of gets by our ego and or some people's ego. There's some people that are still going to trip balls when you talk about something that they know that they do, or subconsciously. But for the most part, people come to a comedy show to relax and laugh and have a good time. At least most people are, unless they're Karen in the back or something.
Yeah.
But or some drunk idiot. But it's usually, the thing I love about comedy is it brings levity to a human experience and human nature. You realize that, hey, it's okay. Nobody knows what goes on after you die. Death and taxes are the two things you can count on in this life, and life can be a little bleak sometimes. I remember when I used to get really depressed and suffer from depression, I would sit and watch the show Cops for an hour or two.
Yeah.
And I would get done after 2 hours laughing at, the guy in the wife beater, who takes his shirt off and he's in the mobile home. He's going to jail that night after he decides he wants to fight the cops. And, you enjoy watching him get tased. And I would sit and watch it for 2 hours and be like, my life is freaking amazing. I don't have people kicking in my door, and I'm not getting pulled over for drugs. And I'm doing pretty goddamn good. I don't know why I'm depressed. Yeah. So comedy can be a really great feedback loop. And you mentioned the black comedian earlier. He just did SNL, the opening of SNL. I forget his name. Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And Dave is just amazing at being able to take a story and weaving it and then kind of shoving everything in your face like, this is what you idiots do, and then hitting it with that punchline that he builds up into that just brings it all home. And you're just like, wow. Okay, that was masterful. I think Lewis
being silly under serious circumstances.
Yeah.
Talking about something that is a contentious topic, going to bother people, and he always reaches for those topics as well, which is important. And then being able to just be really silly in that moment and break the tension in the room, which is that's comedy, isn't it? But he's a master at it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some of the things he's done. I've actually listened and gone, he puts a different paradigm spin, and I think that's really what a good comedian does. Is they put a paradigm spin to where, you can look at it and go, yeah, we do some stupid ass shit as human beings, and yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And being able to walk that fine line between, getting yourself blasted and put on, put out of the tribe, as it were, on, canceled, or not, is really a fine line. Louis C.K. was really great at that too. In fact, one of the interesting things about Louis C.K., from my understanding, is he would just do a different set every time and just constantly write new stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's one hell of a burn rate of probably good comedy, but also that's one hell of a muscle to develop.
Yeah, but he, as far as I know, I think he can develop his premises quite quickly. So if you see him doing something the first time, he's a absolute legend in the game. But you can go out and see him trying something out for the first time and it bombs, and then you go out the next month and it's damn near perfected. Whereas some, a lot of comics take a lot longer. I know I do take a lot longer to get to that point with a new idea that I've had. So just being fearless as well, and not letting a bomb make you think that the idea is not right. Maybe you just haven't cracked the code yet, so you have to just keep getting up and trying it out.
Yeah, sometimes it's the form of the joke too. Like we said, it's wordsmithing, where you're like, well, put the over there and the and over here, and it's a little more complicated than that, but you know what I mean. And so you do this. So let's talk about what sort of let me ask you this, because a lot of comedians have trauma from childhood. A lot of us are running from demons, and so there's a high suicide rate, a high drug overdose rate in comedy, and part of it, I've been through that thing where when people laugh, when I entertain people, it's that crack. it's like a crack that goes to our brain.
Yeah.
And then it just makes things worse because we just want to be funnier. Which works if you can be funny, but if you're not, then you just end up looking like an idiot like I do. Was there anything that you found kind of drove you to it, or was just the ability to entertain? Was there any sort of darkness you find you're running from in your childhood trauma, any sort of that sort of thing?
I don't think I use it as a therapeutic outlet so much. I think that can get pretty dicey because you like you know, at an open mic night or something, you'll see people that are for sure doing that, and it's not that enjoyable for everybody else in the room. So, no, I mean, there's we've all been through stuff. So like being bullied, parents separating.
Yeah.
I'm mixed race, so I've experienced racism as well. So like there are things that I certainly draw from, but I'm not looking to get therapy out of it. A lot of my jokes are quite silly. I'm in the middle of balding at the moment, so that's some stuff that I'm working on in terms of my set, but yeah, it's just silly. It's trying to have a good time and trying to be relatable as well, which is something that if you go up there and you've had a very specific type of trauma and you go up there and just talk about that, it's maybe you'll get clapped at for being brave at best, but it's probably not going to be that funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of you see a lot of that. The Robin Williams. There's a lot of guys. I think a lot of people that overdose. There's always kind of depression. I mean, I remember there was a time in my life where I would make people laugh because there was so much, there's the issues that I was running from, and making people laugh was the only way I could deal with it. I remember calling my father, and he was in the hospital, and he was near the end. He was always in and out of the hospital, and I could hear the fear in his voice. And I never really heard fear in my father's voice. He was a bit of a narcissist, but this time I heard real fear, and he seemed scared, and he didn't want to die, and he said something to that effect. And I'm not good at dealing with the empathy part of like, well, it'll be okay, and yada yada yada. And so I just started telling him jokes like, "Have you been hitting on the nurse there? What's going on with the and at first he was a little resistant, so then I started having him laugh, and I could hear the fear dissipate in his voice. I called him, and pretty soon I had him laughing. Yeah, and that was how I dealt with that situation. Other people might be better. Like, I wasn't there in person, so you trying to say something empathetic that, I'm just not that guy. I'm not that good at that. But making people laugh and, realize the gravity of their situation maybe isn't as big as it is, that's kind of been a healing trait of mine. And sometimes, and it works for me too, when I'm in situations, I've been in surgery and going under, and I've got everyone laughing at some stupid jokes I'm just making up in the room. And it's like, it's helping me. Maybe more than it's helping the audience. Yeah, but there's probably something there.
That's the point you hit earlier as well, isn't it? Like that, it's a distraction from everything going on in the world or in your life, and I think it's important. Sometimes it can be comedy, but I think that's why entertainment's important. That's why people care so much about sports and movies and stuff like that. It's like it's just a distraction, an escape from the horror that you see. Like if you're just someone that watches the news every day, like how can you possibly walk around with a smile on your face knowing just like everything that's going on?
Yeah,
like I make a point not to watch the news every day. I'll keep up to date as much as I feel like is necessary, but it's not the good news show, it's the bad news.
Yeah, that's true. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, I don't need that like consistently put in my face. So that's what entertainment's all about. So I think that's the point you made earlier, and if that's how people deal with their own trauma or helping people out with theirs, then that's a positive thing, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's why people come to comedy, is they need a release. They need a
Mhm.
break. You know, they see the news. They have their experiences in life. You know, life isn't always roses. We all seem to kind of go through some dark times and some things that help us grow. You know, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I hate that expression, but
Yeah.
it is what it
If
is.
you you know, even if it's just like you've had some, you know, not so savory thoughts that you're not able to express because you know what the ramifications might be. It's pretty likely that comedians had something similar go through their brain, and they're going to say it out loud, and it's going to tickle you. So that's another fun part about the art form is being able to say something that seems unspeakable, but people completely understand it, and you get that pop in the room, and that in itself is funny. Sometimes I find myself laughing on stage, not at my own joke, but at the fact that people are laughing at the joke.
Yeah, if I ever do stand up, I'm just gonna come up with a disclaimer that like this is helping me more than it's helping you. This is my therapy.
Yeah.
You know, I you know, we changed the format of the show in 2020 with COVID when a friend of mine posted, there's two things you do right now. You be a lifter or you find a lifter.
Mhm.
And, you know, it was a crisis moment with COVID, everything, you know, no one knew anything, what was going to go on or what would happen. All we knew was, you know, bodies were piling up. And it was a scary time. You realize that, you know, having the latest car and the most money and the biggest house probably didn't fucking matter anymore.
Mm.
You know, your family, the loved ones, the people around you that you enjoyed, you know, they could be gone in an instant. And, you know, it just brought it just kind of brought a reality home that was hard to deal with. And so my friend, he posted, he goes, here's what you do right now. You either be a lifter or you find a lifter. And I'm not a good find a lifter follower sort of person. I'm a leader. And I'm like, okay, what are my assets? What do we have? And I go, well, we got this show we've had for at that time, probably 9 years. And I said, we're going to open up the scope. Instead of interviewing just CEOs in Silicon Valley and talk about technology, we're going to talk about everything, and we're going to lift. And it was a little hard at first to be a lifter in that moment because I was losing a lot of money.
Mhm.
But we did it. And, you know, I think that's what comedians do. Comedians are lifters. And we take the reality of life, we spin it, we make you laugh at it. It's kind of like the experience I used to have when I would I would just be overwhelmed and I'd go down to the beach in California and sit on the beach. And you kind of look at the waves and look at the eternal nature of the sunset and that ocean and realize that your fucking little pile of what you thought were the biggest problems in the world were just pretty much nothing.
Yeah, completely insignificant. Yeah.
in
Which
the
can be
hallmarks of
helpful,
time.
but it can also be a harmful thought to have too.
That's true.
I already feel like I'm nothing, and now I can see how big everything is. Yeah.
Well, it did help me. I could backfire on you, huh? But it would help put things in perspective for me. It was kind of like watching Cops. Like when I'd watch Cops or I'd watch the show Cheaters. You know, you get done and you're just like, my life's really not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. I mean, I'm not getting shot by police yet. I mean, there's still time today, but there's that. So what topics do you like what do you like to focus on? You said you don't listen to the news much. Do you like to focus on personal stuff or people's nature or maybe other topics?
I think yeah, just different types of people. So if I like my new hour has, for some reason, there's a fair bit of Japanese stuff in there.
In Australia?
Yeah, just the types of joke like that. We had like a not a school shooter situation, but we had a student at my high school who wanted to get revenge on his bullies.
Oh, wow.
And he actually ended up coming to school with a samurai sword. And so I tell that story.
Wow.
And I just think it's funny that like a getting revenge at school situation is sort of like a white response to bullying. Most of the time it's a white kid doing it. This kid was an Arab.
wow.
And it was also post 9/11, and no one took him serious when he said he was going to do it. But then he rocks up with a Japanese weapon. I just thought it was hilarious that the multicultural nature of his revenge was quite funny. So there is a Japanese through line through the hour as well. I used to have a Japanese barber, so he gets a mention too. And
so did he use the blade to?
yeah. Then there's just the trans community stuff is in there.
There you go.
The difference between the rich and poor and all of that. So
there you go.
It gets addressed somewhat in the news, but I'm not up there talking about Ukraine or Gaza or anything like that.
Yeah, there's some things that it's interesting to me how certain things you can't talk about in comedy. At least you're not supposed to. For a long time there, you weren't supposed to talk about the shuttle exploding or 9/11.
Yeah,
I think some people have kind of learned to. I think it's been enough distance too, but people have learned to thread that needle. But it's interesting how comedians will take those risks and thread that needle. How do you feel about taking those sort of risks? Do you kind of fall back from it?
I think everything's up for grabs, but it has to be a good joke.
Yeah.
So like one that's a bit dicey is like sexual assault. You see a lot of male comedians that likely haven't experienced it will try and make a joke about it. And sometimes just saying the R word is enough to trigger people. So what you have to do is make sure that the joke's funny. And if it's not funny enough, then leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's not just something that you can poke fun at. The joke has to be funny.
And I think it more has to be about our nature, maybe more a reflection of who we are and ours. I think Dave Chappelle wandered into that Me Too thing when throwing shit at Me Too and calling it out. I think he did a good job of that. But yeah, you could tell, you could just watch the line that he was walking. And I think as the comedians were more tuned into it, like the writing of the joke. When I listen to a comedian, I'm more like going, "You're on the razor's edge there, buddy. Yeah. Let's see how this ends." Maybe it's like cops. I'm there to see him fail.
That's important. That's important to walk that line. And I think during Me Too, or probably Me Too the most, when people were just out there like losing jobs and losing gigs and stuff without evidence. It was sort of just like, hey, this guy said something, let's cancel him. I think comedians got a bit nervous, and you could feel that a bit, and I think that's not when the best comedy was coming out. And then when it starts to shift a little bit and people feel braver and feel safer to say what they think, then that's when you start seeing comedians, especially the great ones, really pushing those boundaries and approaching that line and seeing how close they can get to it or how far they can go over it, which is that's where the best comedy comes from.
Yeah. And for a while there, it got really dark after Me Too and this, it's like comedians, Bill Maher has talked about this a lot. Comedians can't go to colleges anymore because, the colleges are like, oh, you're hurting our feelings, and, they just can't take a joke anymore. Yeah. When really colleges used to be these bastions of open-mindedness. And to me, that was really frustrating, seeing comedy almost start to die, and a lot of comedians really worried about, am I going to get canceled because I make a joke? Just for a while that got really stupid, really stupid. And I think, thank God pioneers like Dave Chappelle and other people that can write well and make it intricate, I think they kind of changed the tonality of a lot of it. And I still think there's work that needs to be done. But the fact, if we ever reach a point where we can't laugh at ourselves, this world's over as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and there's obviously there's people like that, like you said, the college audience. I don't know how much that has evolved since that time, but I know that was pretty hard at the time. But you can get to a point where you believe you're so open-minded that you've actually narrowed your mind, and that your point of view is the only point of view that matters, and anyone that against that is negative or is in the wrong. So I think that's actually where we got to at that time, was these people thought they were so open-minded that they only had one perspective, and they had actually become closed-minded, which was a bit of a dichotomy there.
Yeah, it really is interesting. It's the I think, I don't know, would that fall under the Dunning-Kruger sort of effect? The people that think they're the smartest usually have the most low information and are actually the dumbest. They're just not self-aware enough to realize how stupid they really are, which is what people write into me and tell me I am in the show. Self-effacing jokes. I just did one, if people didn't notice. I'm pointing that the fuck out. But, we mentioned that in your bio. Why do you think self-effacing jokes are really important in comedy for comedians to utilize?
In Australia, there's something called tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of that?
No.
So it's where the tallest poppies or flowers, the public want to cut them down. So when you become like famous or good at something, you have to say that you're not in this country, or else people are going to be like, "Oh, you think you're better than me?" and they're going to cut you down for you.
Is that an Australian thing?
It is typically Australian thing.
Wow.
So I think in comedy as well, like you want to relate to the audience. So you don't want to be up there saying I'm better than you or whatever. So I think a self-deprecating joke to start off with, or just a self-deprecating tone throughout, helps you relate to the audience more, or helps the audience understand that just because you're on stage with the mic, you're not above them as much as you may be physically, because they're sitting down beneath you. You're actually not above them. So self-deprecating humor is important in that respect. But in this country, I think I almost start every gig, every set with something negative about myself to get the trust of the crowd. Especially, I'm a big man. I'm 6'7". So I am, a bit of a confronting body on stage. So just letting them know that I don't think anything more of myself than what they are.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You're telling the joke sometimes at expense of probably at least one person in the audience.
Absolutely.
And letting them know that the finger goes both ways. We understand our fallacies as human beings are the same. And I think in how you deliver the joke is really important too. Like the insult comic from the 50s and 60s. I always forget his name, even though he's one of my favorite comedians. Let me see if I can pull him up here. There's his face. But Don Rickles, I don't know why I can never remember Don Rickles. Yeah, Don Rickles is so good at it. And he said, the one thing is people can hear in your voice whether you're sincere or not, or whether you care about them or not, or whether you're really being mean. And so he could get away with doing racist, sort of what some people would see as racist sort of jokes, and racist profiling, but he could get away with it because people could tell that he meant it as good humor, he meant it as fun humor, he meant it as like let's look at our human nature and behaviors and stuff. I'm not sure anybody can redo what Don Rickles did in today's age, but I mean, he had a warmth to him. They used to call him Mr. Warmth when he come on the Carson show. But he had a warmth to him, and he would, of course, do comedy back on himself, self-effacing comedy, and he'd throw himself on the pyre. But man, there was few people who could thread that needle like him, but you could always tell in the way he did it that it was never mean, that it was never designed to insult. That it was just designed to be funny, make people laugh. We all, he took turns on everybody. He would, work the Italians and the Jews, and, he'd work everybody. And so, you could see that he wasn't just up there being a Nazi,
Yeah, I'm having a brain fade right now of the comedian. She used to work the red carpet. She's passed away now.
Oh, the great comedian. She had all those surgeries.
Yeah. She was the same. She was very good at being sharp and just being able to make fun of people. She would do it to their faces on the red carpet. Obviously, she had a reputation as well, so that always helps. But she had to do something to get to that point as well, didn't she? So she had a style which allowed her to do that. The great Jeff Ross, the roast master general, he obviously could do that as well.
Yeah, Joan Rivers,
yes, thank you.
Joan Rivers. I mean, and what a time to come up in comedy. Like I remember seeing her on the Ed Sullivan Show, black and white, like early TV. And there she is doing what a lot of females probably weren't, it wasn't popular to do. Now there's female comedians going out the whatever. But just seeing her do it and her evolve over the years, she was an amazing comedian. But yeah, just people know that it's kind of an art form, and knowing that when you deliver the jokes you do, people still sense that you care. You're just not bashing the fuck out of people and being an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I think some comedians, I've been accused of being an asshole with jokes because there's always those people who don't get a joke. They're never going to get any joke. So
yeah, but some people will sit at the back of the room and get upset when a joke is about them, right? So if I make a joke about fat people and you get upset about it, but you were just laughing at the joke about Asians, what does that say? Like,
what does that say? I mean, it speaks, like we said, to the nature of stuff. So tell us about your future upcoming gigs. What do you have plans for? What can maybe people go attend, et cetera, et cetera?
So I've got the Adelaide Fringe. So the Fringe Festival is an arts festival that sort of travels around the world. The largest one is in Edinburgh in Scotland, and the second largest one is in my hometown, Adelaide, Australia. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I'm doing my show for 31 days straight. So 31 hours and 31 days. That's called Clay McMath In Over My Head. And I'm also doing a split bill with two other comedians that I tour with regularly, Justin Saw and Jay Michael. So that show is called 2.5 Straight White Men. And that's a late show, lots of fun, pretty dirty. So people should be finished with dinner, few drinks deep, and come along to that one. That'll be real fun. And once I'm finished with Adelaide Fringe, I'm actually going over to Melbourne International Comedy Festival and doing my show for 10 nights over there as well.
There you go. And how long are your sets usually?
An hour.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
An hour of comedy. That's a challenge to build out. So props to you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome sauce. Yeah. I mean, I know that just trying to do 5 minutes of comedy, like people will be like, oh, 5 minutes doesn't seem like all that long. It does when you're on stage.
Five minutes can be tough because especially if you're unknown and that you don't have the trust of the audience, you gotta try and build trust to say the crazy shit that you're about to say. And 5 minutes can be a hard one as well. So no, I think it's all pipes, Jerry.
There you go. Anything more we need to plug out before we go?
Just the podcast. Yeah, give it a listen. If you're not in Australia and not able to come to my upcoming shows, just have a listen to the podcast. It's called Welcome to the Potty. And like I said, it's a comedy / TV and film review podcast. A lot of fun, a lot of stories about myself and different things I've witnessed that relate to the movies that I watch every week.
There you go. I like the movie tie-in and stuff because there's a lot you can play in and make fun of. I mean, do you ever watch who's the movies? I'm a horrible name person. I'm great at faces. Like if I see a face, I remember it, but I'm horrible at names. But who's the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola who's in all the bad movies? And it seems like he doesn't say no to any movie.
Is that Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage. You could probably have a lot of fun watching his bad movies, some of his bad movies.
He's got some bad ones, but he's also got some bangers too.
I mean, Leaving Las Vegas. I mean, he's got a great thing of hits. In fact, I just saw the other day
Con Air.
Yeah, Con Air. Yeah, what a great movie that was.
Yeah.
I used to have that DVD. That's how old I am. I had DVDs.
I've got a wall of DVDs on the other side of the camera there.
Gen Zers are like right now going, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah.
DVD or something? Yeah. But I mean, you could have a lot of fun. So do you tear up the movies, or do you just do commentary as you watch the movies, or?
No, I just watch the movie and then I talk about it.
Yeah.
Do a review. Yeah, I plan on getting more into like the commentary stuff and streaming once I launch my Patreon. I just haven't got around to that yet. Been preparing for these festivals, so
there you go, the festivals, as it were. Well, it's been fun to have you on the show and bring some comedy to us. We really appreciate it, Clay.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
There you go, and give us and see if you can do something about that their Vegemite there in Australia. I mean, we have like real food and jam and stuff you guys can use. You don't have to eat that anymore.
Yeah, I think they said something about RFK was saying that all your food over there is like 10,000 ingredients though. So
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Vegemite might be a little bit better for us than your jams and jellies.
Here's a joke for you. I think Vegemite being used as a lube is how all those koalas got chlamydia. No! How's that for writing a joke right off the top? I think that's how, because I love poking my Australian friends about the chlamydia koalas, and I mean they're just such cute little things, and then you find out they have chlamydia. It's like the last time I was in Thailand or something.
Yeah, and you should hear the sounds they make too. They look very cute, but they they don't sound it.
Now, is that when they're sharing chlamydia with each other, or is that just their normal sounds?
I think it gets pretty aggressive when they're sharing it. Their normal sounds are out there.
You're like walking around, you're hearing some shit in the trees. You're like, is there a porn being filmed by me? Yeah. What's going on? And it's a bunch of angry little elfish. What were those things in the Star Wars things? The little
Wookiees.
The little Wookiees. Yeah, there you go.
Wookiees or whatever. Yeah.
So give us your .coms as we go out, so people have them.
Okay, so claymcmathcomedy.com. You'll see my podcast up there and all my merch and tour dates on there. Clay McMath Comedy on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and Welcome to the Party on everything.
Welcome to the party.
That's it.
You need me to do your intro for you?
I think we've got a good one.
Do you? I'll have to go listen to it. Welcome to the jungle. Anyway, there you go. So, Clay, thank you very much for coming on the show, enlightening us, and bringing us up with the comedy. Thanks, my audience, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity. All this crazy place, the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. Or else. We'll see you next time.